What is going on, guys? It is Justin, and I'm back again to talk some wrestling for y'all. That's right, wrestling. I felt like Ted Turner there just for a second. Anyways, so Monday Night Raw, the spectacle of Monday nights. This week, not so sensational. Two returns. I know many people have done Raw reviews, but I'm just going to tell you guys my feelings on what happened on Raw and where I think it might be going. Anyways, first return we're going to touch on is Chris Jericho and him interrupting John Cena and all that bullshit in that little segment there. Chris Jericho, don't think he's going to have a feud with John Cena. I think that Jericho needs to maybe have a feud with like Dolph Ziggler or Cody Rhodes or someone like that. Chris Jericho is an established wrestler that I think that could put Cody Rhodes and Dolph Ziggler in the main event status. Both of those individuals that I mentioned, Cody Rhodes and Dolph Ziggler, have amazing mic skills, and throw them in the ring with Chris Jericho, who's a sensation on the mic, and I think that they can write an amazing story together. So that's my take on the return of Chris Jericho. Of course, he was out because of the whole Brazilian flag situation and him degrading the Brazilian flag, which I thought was very ironic because flashback when Shawn Michaels degraded the Canadian flag, me being Canadian, no one even touched on that. And I know it's only certain countries that are signs of disrespect with the flag, but in my opinion, if you're going to do one country, you might as well do all the countries the same way, so that's just my take on that. Anyways, the next return is a very ironic return. And the thing that I find very ironic about this is, for years and years, people have been saying, we want Sid to come back. We want Sid to wrestle again. Then, when Sid comes back, Sid, sure he did his maneuvers that he did 15 years ago. Sure he came back and supposedly was the ruler of the world, but at the same time, Sid was not in the greatest of shape, folks. I was expecting Sid to be like, still chiseled, still ready to go. Sid looked like he had aged. And, people were saying, well, Sid looked like he didn't skip a beat. If you look at Sid's matches in 99 and 2000, Sid's matches back then in WCW were even a lot better than the match that he put on with Heath Slater. Of course, the match with Heath Slater was maybe a 3-minute match, if that. But, Sid, to make a return like that, to make an impression like that, you would think they would at least have given the man a better opponent, a better time to shine. They announced him as a 2-time WWE champion and made this big hype about him, and then all of a sudden it's a 3-minute match and it's done. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the greatest return, but I know WWE is trying to do these, people from the past coming and interrupting Heath Slater and with Wendy Richter and Rowdy Piper and Cyndi Lauper and Vader and now Sid. Who's going to be next? I don't know. But in my mind, it's kind of degrading the old stars at the same time because stars are coming out and getting pops. Vader got a pop. Wendy Richter, no one knew who the hell he was. Or she was, sorry. Rowdy Piper, of course, people know who he is, but the segment with Cyndi Lauper, how many of our fans out there really know who Cyndi Lauper still is? Not a lot of fans out there because a lot of fans are a lot younger and would have no idea who Cyndi Lauper was. The only reason they might know her is because girls just want to have fun, but even then, that song was written in the early 80s, so just saying a lot of the fan base would have no idea who she was, and Sid's the same way. If you look at the fan base, I would say about 70% of the fans that watch WWE's product probably don't know who Sid is, and if they do, it's based on them watching old school wrestling on like WWE On Demand and stuff like that. They never watched Sid in his original days, part of the Four Horsemen, part of his days in NWA, WCW, and then WWE, and then back to WCW. People in that younger demographic never grew up with Sid. So, that's why he may not have had a huge of an impact as he should have potentially had. And it was funny because I was speaking to someone on this via Twitter or text or something, and I said, did someone go out there and tell Sid to break a leg? And Of course, we got the reference, but if you were to tell someone younger about that, they would have no idea. And then, the background story of that is that Sid actually broke his leg in the ring. But, so that's the two returns. Okay. Now people are talking about the Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Kane being dropped from the angle with AJ for no apparent reason. AJ is still crazy as fuck. But it's weird because you're having Daniel versus CM Punk, and then they're potentially talking about a John Cena versus CM Punk 2 at SummerSlam. So if they do that, that means CM Punk potentially is, or most likely is going to be champion. Either that or he loses to Daniel Bryan. Then CM Punk cashes in because now he's in Money in the Bank on Daniel Bryan, becomes champion. Then it's CM Punk versus John Cena at SummerSlam Part 2 for the WWE Championship all over again, and it's a total repeat of last year. I don't think they've done a repeat SummerSlam match ever, so it's something new, I guess, but it might not have the same build. Another thing they're saying is going to happen potentially is that there's going to be another CM Punk, one of his mega promos where he just attacks the company, and if they do that, oh god, you might as well repeat the whole fucking summer again, because they're going to have that promo, they're going to have CM Punk versus John Cena 2, which is exactly the same as last year. Give me a fucking break, WWE. Be more creative. Write some new shit down. I'm just fucking saying. So, basically, that's the gist of what's going on. And we have, of course, Dolph Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio versus Sheamus on SmackDown for the World Championship. God only knows what the fuck's going to happen there. Hope to God Alberto Del Rio doesn't win. I wouldn't be mad if Dolph Ziggler won. Sheamus has had a decent run, so it kind of makes sense there. So that's been my take on WWE's wrestling. You guys let me know what you guys think. Comment below as always, and I will catch you guys later. One love, mad love. Peace.